Good morning. Algebra 1 with Mr. Cooper, Mr. McCormick. Today, we are going to go over unit exam review. So some of you may feel like, oh, Mr. Cooper, you blindsided us. No worries at all, okay? Tomorrow, as in Tuesday, we will have our unit exam on quadratics. So how it will work just like an IA. You will show up to the Zoom call, and we will, from there, give you the link to Elluminate, and that is where you will take your exam. It is 12 questions, majority multiple choice, and today we will prep you in every sort of way possible so that you succeed on this exam. So please do not stress. But remember, tomorrow at 8 a.m., you need to show up promptly so you have more than enough time to finish this exam before you move on to your next class. So not only is it important for your attendance points tomorrow, but if you want to maximize how well you can do on this exam, you will want to show up on time tomorrow. So without further ado, let's get right into that review though. So the first part of review here, the one thing we want to do here is understand minimum and maximum, because you will, well, maybe asked a question like this on your exam come tomorrow. Okay, so let's look here at this function right there. We have negative x squared minus 10x minus 21. Now, as I am going through this, you should be writing all of this into your notes, okay? So let's understand minimum and maximum here, okay? You've got y equals negative x squared minus 10x minus 21, okay? Now, if you'll notice here, this graph does something very unique. It points downward, right? So please, I'm going to pause the video. Someone tell me, why in the world does this graph point downward? Pause the video. Wonderful. This graph points downward. We have a key sign here. This graph points downward because of this negative in front of our x. This negative here inverts our graph or flips it upside down, which means that we've got this point here, and this is what's really important to us. Since this graph points downward, this vertex can be known as what? I'm going to pause the video again. Pause the video. What is that vertex known as? This vertex here is what is known as a maximum. Wonderful job to whoever it is that answered that. This is known as a maximum because this is the highest that this graph will ever get. If we were to look down here, there is no minimum because the graph is infinite. It keeps going. But here at this maximum, it will only ever get as high as our vertex. So if that's the case over here for an inverted graph, then what in the world is the case over here where this sign in front of this x is positive? Okay, so we need to know, what is this point known as? And this, I am throwing you an alley-oop here. We're going to cold call. Pause the video. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. This is actually going to be our minimum. Okay? So a very key important thing to look for. If I ask you, let's say I give you a multiple choice question, and I ask you, which of these has a minimum? You will look for a graph, or excuse me, you will look for a function that has a positive a value. If I ask you, look for a function that has a maximum, you will look for a function that has a negative a value. Okay? It is actually that straightforward. So that right there is a quick little synopsis of understanding minimum and maximum. Okay, very quickly, we'll see here. This one is all about understanding vertex in vertex form. So this is a point where I pause the video and I ask someone, please give me the general vertex form. Pause the video. Okay, general vertex form, very nice job, takes the form of y equals a times x minus h, all of that squared, plus k. Okay, now here's what I really need you to understand here. The vertex in this here, the vertex when looking at this is going to be h comma k. Okay, which means this here is our x value, and this here is going to be our y value. Okay, so let's look at a live example here. Okay, we have this example here. Y equals x minus 1 squared plus 1. What is my vertex, and how do you know that? Pause the video. Wonderful. My vertex here is 1, 1, and we know that because h here, h is equal to 1, and k is equal to 1, and this here is h, and this here is k. Okay, we are spot on there. Let's try one more example. Okay, we've got this example here. Y equals x plus 2 squared minus 3. Okay, now we need to think about what our vertex is here. I'm going to cold call or potentially ask somebody to raise their hand. Who knows? Pause the video. Wonderful. The answer here is -2, -3. Now, one thing that I hope you are noticing here, with this h value, when we put this into here, you will reverse this sign. So for example, this here, let me use a different color. This here is positive. So here it's going to be negative. This one here is negative. So here it will be positive. But we only do that with our h or our x value here in the vertex. So hopefully that sticks with you. Let's move on to the next example. I'm going to move quickly through these. I'm sorry, I know I said I was going to move on. I do want to remind you though, I'm going to use a brand new color. This k value, whether it's positive or negative, that one stays the same. H gets flipped, k stays exactly the same. So I just want you to remember that. All right. Okay. For this example here, we have x plus 4 squared, and I'm going to run through this very quickly. I want to know how you would do this. Is this equal to x squared plus 16, right? Because what I did here was I distributed that through. Or is this equal to x squared plus 8x plus 16? And why? Pause the video. I'm going to ask you. Wonderful job. The correct answer is this. You cannot simply distribute this 2 through. This x plus 4 squared is the same thing as x plus 4 times x plus 4. And from there, you can distribute. You cannot just put this exponent through. Move on. All right, for this next one, we're going to work on cross multiplication here, which we just did recently. So you need to solve for x. With this, I'm going to leave you on your own for a very quick minute. And here you will tell me how to solve this. Or I'm sorry, you're going to solve it on your own. So go ahead. Now that ample time has passed, I'm going to quickly run through this example. Okay, we're going to cross multiply here. So over here, we will end up with a 3x minus 5. Over here, we end up with an x squared minus x minus 2. All of this is equal to each other. I'm going to do 2 steps at once here. I'm going to subtract 3x minus 5 from both sides, leaving me with 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay. This, once we factor, or excuse me, once we pull this apart, we'll end up with 0 equals x minus 3 times x minus 1. And from there, we end up with x equals 3 and x equals 1. Those are your 2 answers. Okay? So hopefully you were able to ask those questions as we move along. But that is how your work should look. If you need to go back after class and take a picture of this, go ahead. But for now, we're going to move on. Okay, with this question, make it a little bit simple. I need you to solve for x here. And this one will be done on your own. Go. Pause the video. Okay, now that we're back, I'm going to quickly go through the steps here, very quickly. This -4 gets distributed both times here. leaving us with negative 8x minus 12 plus 1/3 times 3 here will give me 3 over 3x. This gets multiplied to the numerator. The denominator stays the same. And we have 6 on the right here. I'm going to start by rewriting negative 8x minus 12 plus 3 over 3. These 3 cancels. We're just left with x equals 6. I'm going to add 12 to get rid of this to both sides. Now I'm left with a negative 8x plus x equals 18. We'll combine like terms here. We have negative 7x equals 18. My last and final step, divide by negative 7 here. If we did it to the left, we have to do it both sides. The negative 7's cancel here. We're left with x equals 18 over negative 7. And that right there is our final answer. Do not be afraid of fractions, as you maybe won't see one on your test, which is tomorrow. On to the next one. All right, here we are now at the exit ticket portion. Remember, a couple reminders for tomorrow. You will show up tomorrow on time. If your friends are not here, you will want to tell them to be in class at 8 a.m. tomorrow. If you show up at a certain point, after a certain point, there's a good chance that Mr. McCormick and I are not going to allow you to take the exam at that moment. So please, please, please show up tomorrow at 8 a.m. Be nice and ready to take this exam on Elluminate. All you need is a pen and a pencil. Your video must be on. So be prepared for your video to be on and looking at you. I know oftentimes we see the ceiling, but we need to see you working, okay? So for the exit ticket, please solve this for x. When you are done, not only will you take a picture of this, take a picture of all of it. I want you to take a picture of all of the notes that you have taken today, including the exit ticket, and you will get graded on having everything completed. So this is not an opportunity to skip the exit ticket, because if we see that you have not put in full effort toward this, then you will not get full credit for everything. So complete this exit ticket and take a picture of all of the notes that you have taken today. Thank you.